What's up, guys? I'm John.
My name is Chris.
And we are the Heck, and today we're checking out another freaking video from AniNews, and this is actually going to be the Overlord Explained videos.
Yeah.
And you want to take away the title of this one?
This one is How Strong is the Leader of Overlord's Battle Maids? Aureole Omega Explained. This is part 2.
Part 2.
So we did part 1.
Part 1, yeah. And so I think this is going to be the last of these parts of this, because then after this we get into the 5 worst in Overlord, and then who are the worst 5 in Overlord part 2 probably. So we've got those coming up, and then hopefully soon we get into my freaking secret waifu, and not really even that secret, Beto. Okay, hopefully we get into some information about her soon. I don't know.
Let me see them stats, girl.
I know, we gotta get them stats, yo. But so yeah, either way, we're gonna actually be checking out 3 episodes today on this one recording. So know that there's gonna be another one coming out soon, and then another one after that as well too. So you guys are gonna have a lot of content. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you want to watch the next episode, it will already be up on our Patreon. And yeah, just know that we've got a lot of content coming to you guys. So we're freaking going for it, homies.
Yeah.
Either way, go to our channel, smash that sub button. Let's do this. A boom! And then mother freaking a boom!
Last episode, I introduced you to the mysterious leader of Nazarick's combat maid squad. The youngest yet strongest member, who, when in command, leads what's known as the Pleiades 7 Sisters.
Don't you feel like that happens a lot? The youngest yet strongest, the leader of the group.
Yeah.
It's very playing on some cliches on anime storytelling sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's wild that she's the leader, and we literally in the anime have never seen her.
Yeah, I think they said something like there was maybe 1 or 2 parts where she's mentioned, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever even saw her in the anime.
Yeah.
We discussed both her responsibilities as the area guardian of the
think
Cherry
even
Blossom
Light Novel,
Sanctuary
she wasn't
and
in
as
that.
the overseer of Nazarick's teleportation network. But
pretty cool.
there's one final duty that we didn't cover that's even more important than all of her other responsibilities combined.
Okay.
For to fail at it is to result in a loss so great for Nazarick that even Ainz couldn't overcome it. So
shit.
let's finish off this character profile with that
runs
very
the
duty,
generators.
as well as her
That's how they have
build, as we
electricity.
continue to find out everything that there is to know about the Pleiades' 7th sister, Aureole Omega. But first, this video is sponsored
Son
by
of
Kakao
a-
Games,
Uh-oh.
bringing us Black Desert Online's
All right,
newest game
first
mode
of all,
called
I
the
don't think we can
Shadow
actually
Arena.
watch
And if you're
freaking
from
other
random,
ads on here,
you can use
because
the link
then there's something
now.
to do with
Let's
it.
get
I don't
back
know
to the
about it. But also, since they just ran an ad for a freaking mobile game, did you guys know that literally right now you guys can play the freaking mobile game of, this is totally not an ad, but freaking Lord of Nazarick just popped up. Boom! It's on there, homies! It's out!
Yeah.
It's officially out. So I'm going to get a profile together and all that stuff, and I'll post it somewhere.
Dude, that's cool.
Hopefully we can play together.
I need to download it too. It's
Do
free
it.
to play, right?
It is.
Heck yeah. I'm gonna
Totally not an ad. But
What's
if
it
you
called?
guys... Lord of Nazarick.
get it. Lord of Nazarick. Yeah.
Boom!
So, what is it that's so important that it completely dwarfs the importance of leading the combat maids and managing
That's
the
what I'm
complex
wondering,
teleportation
boning.
system across the floors of Nazarick? Well, Aureole Omega's final and most important duty is to personally watch over and guard the item known as the Staff of Ainz Ul Gon. Now, this may not sound like much, because to you, this just may seem like any other item.
Usually be
But
wielding it.
this isn't
Well,
just
you know that's
any
not
item.
any other item.
The
though.
Staff of
We know
Ainz
that.
Ul Gon is what's known as a guild weapon.
something
We've talked about these before in a much older video, but in short, such items have a power that is nearly as strong as world-class items, and greatly exceed those of divine-class weapons, which are known to be the strongest category made normally available to the players.
Wow.
This staff was made specifically for Momonga, as it powers up many of his abilities in addition to providing access
That's
to
kinda
many
wild.
free spells. It's not just a fancy weapon meant to signify Ainz's authority as the guild master. It holds the entire guild of Ainz Ul Gon together, and
Damn.
allows him to exercise his guild admin functions. But all that power doesn't come without a cost. There's a significant risk in having a guild weapon such as this, because should it ever be destroyed, the guild itself will immediately be disbanded.
Really?
Well, at least that's how it worked in the video game of Yggdrasil.
Okay, I was about to say,
What
what about real
disbanded
life, though?
truly signifies in the
Yeah, I
new
don't
world
think
is
it's
left to
in-
interpretation
surely it
and
wouldn't in real
speculation.
life. Yeah.
Though
Or in
it's
this
not
world.
hard to imagine what it would be like for a guild to be disbanded in an MMO. I'd imagine that it's something along the lines of the guild disappears and everyone gets kicked from the member list, which for a video game that you've dedicated countless hours and days to
Yeah, that'd be
would be
awful.
absolutely devastating. Though I can't say I'm surprised, considering that this is the same game that has a world item that lets you permanently delete other players. But what happens to the guild housing, the treasury, and the NPCs? Does the treasury just disappear or go to someone's inventory? Is
Maybe
ownership
just
over Nazarick
explodes
lost
all
and
over the
reverted
entire
back to the
world.
state
Right,
it was in
yeah.
before being conquered?
Like Dragon
or
Balls
does it
shooting
remain
out.
as property of a specific member? Then what happens to the NPC's allegiances? Do they suddenly become no longer loyal to Ainz and only to their creators? Or do they just lose all sense of obligation completely? It's definitely an interesting prospect to consider. Suffice to say,
Supposed to say,
Ainz
did they figure
definitely
this
does
out?
not ever want to find out the hard way what immediately disbanded means.
Yeah.
Hell, he only took it out in the first place because the server was going to shut down in a few hours anyway, and it wouldn't really matter. So, despite its powerful combat capabilities, any guild that was stupid enough to carry their guild weapon around with them wouldn't last very long. The smart ones kept it hidden away deep within their guild base.
Yeah, but
and
it's so
only took
powerful
it out
that
when
it-
the risk of losing it was
You
warranted.
know what I mean?
In Ainz's case, he would probably only have ever used it during a last-ditch defense effort of the throne room itself. But ever since he was teleported to the New World, he really doesn't have any reason to carry it around unless needing it for one of its specific purposes, such as checking the guild console or exercising his admin rights.
Can
As
he
a matter
still
of
do
fact,
admin rights
those are
out
just
of-
about the only
like in
reasons
this
he'll ever casually take it out. It's so
He hasn't
sacred
done
to
it
the
that I've
extent
seen.
that Ainz
My guild
actually
weapon
made a
would be
replica of it
only
to
visible
wield
to
for
the
ceremonial
people in the guild.
purposes or for when
Nobody
he
else
wants to
can do it.
command his
Yeah.
authority. But
Makes
back to
sense.
Aureole Omega now. Remember, she's the area guardian of the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary, meaning that's also where the staff of Ainz Orgon typically resides. Thus, it should go without saying that the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary is arguably the most well-defended location in all of Nazarick, even when
He's out there
compared to the
soaking
treasury,
his bones,
especially when you
dude.
consider the fact that it's
how you
also
get the
the
best
guild's
broth.
main security.
Yeah.
As
Make
we
it a
mentioned last
tonkatsu.
video, it's guarded by elite high-level monsters, including Aureole Omega herself. And to even get there, you first have to bypass the rest of the 8th floor. On top of this, it was impossible even for users of the Ring of Ainz Orgon to teleport directly into the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary. So, in short, attempting to destroy the guild weapon, or even disrupt the security network, was quite difficult to say the least. And by the time that you had made it all the way to the end of the 8th floor, you would have already conquered the majority of the defenses in Nazarick anyway, including even its trump card, meaning there was very little left in your way except the throne room itself. Of course,
Damn.
the Ariadne system doesn't necessarily say you have to provide a path to every location in the guild. Take the treasury for example.
So there
It's
would
in a
be no
completely
path
sealed off
actually that
location
leads
that's
you there?
only accessible with the Ring of Ainz Orgon. The only room that must have a direct path at all times is the throne room. So it could be that the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary is in a separate space entirely, just like the treasury, and it can't be entered unless Aureole Omega lets you in via a specific teleportation gate. That said,
It reminds
there
me of
may be
Hades a little
countermeasures
bit
to
with
the
that one dude that
teleportation
you
blocks and
can
traps,
encounter randomly.
And it is actually implied
You
that
know that guy on Hades? You can like randomly encounter this one portal, and he'll
Oh,
offer you
the
like something.
chaos?
Yeah.
The god of chaos or
Kind
whatever.
of reminds me of that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just like, oh, you can enter. But also, like, dude, how many other players do you think there are actually in that were in Yggdrasil? How many other players do you think that were actually like would be able to rival Ainz?
I don't know.
I don't think there's anybody, dude. Like,
I mean, I felt like they talked about it a little bit, that there was some guilds there, or a bunch of guilds that came together to try to conquer Nazarick, but they didn't make it. So
yeah.
I don't know. Like, even if like a combination of guilds came
Yeah.
together and couldn't do it, I mean,
Who the hell would be able to do this in the first
Cherry
place?
Blossom
they must
Sanctuary
be in the top
is
players in
reachable
the
on
server or
foot.
something.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I was in charge of the defenses of Nazarick and nothing was stopping me from doing it, I'd definitely try and make my security hub unreachable through both a teleportation block and a sealable gate. Though, on the off chance that someone did finesse their way in, it would really suck to be locked out from the inside. So, having a backup method of gaining entry into the sanctuary is probably a good idea. But even in that worst case scenario where invaders did somehow manage to attack the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary, Aureole Omega's #1 priority was to safeguard the guild weapon. She had the authority to take the weapon and flee to the throne room, or even some other location. Presumably, the objective was to deliver it to Ainz's hands.
Who says
Now,
that she's
while
the leader of the
security
battle
hub
maids?
would be a
Even with
significant
this,
loss, the loss of the guild weapon would be even more catastrophic, and it was something that should be avoided at all costs. So that pretty much sums up her final responsibility. Now, what about her build? I'm sure you're much more curious as to what type of NPC Ainz and the rest of the guild would put in charge of not only
So
leading the
this is
Pleiades
fan-made.
battle
This is
mates,
not her real
not
stats.
only being the
Okay, it said
gatekeeper
that on
of
there?
Nazarick and its de facto chief of security, but also to be the escort and guard of quite literally the most important item to the entire guild. What is she actually capable of? 'Cause,
We need to know.
I mean, with that type of resume, you'd think that she'd be able to take on both Rubedo and Shaltir at the same time. But I think it's not quite what you'd expect.
Oh, God.
You see, I've saved it for the end for one very specific reason. It's actually something of a spoiler, as the details of her build have been revealed during an arc that hasn't been covered in the anime.
Oh, shit!
Everything before now, and even in the first video, is something that you could have potentially picked up on by reading scenes or lines that were cut from the anime, or even by looking at the side stories that were released as bonus material for the Blu-rays and the manga. But for this, we're about to venture into territory that many of you anime-only watchers wouldn't have experienced yet. That said,
Do you want to watch this or no?
I don't know.
I don't either. Oh, shit. We haven't really had to encounter such a situation yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
All right. I say we let the fates decide, sir. Do you have the freaking... Is that coin over there? The $50? We've got a $50 that we got from a freaking shop. And we're just going to flip the coin. Okay? We got to flip a coin. So, let's say heads, we go for it. And then tails, we just stop the video right here. Which becomes the weirdest thing that we've ever done.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But tails, we stop it, okay? Because I don't want to spoil it, but also at the same time, maybe it's not a big spoiler.
Yeah, maybe it ain't so big. I don't know.
I don't either. We're going to let the coin decide. Heads, we keep going, though.
It's a big old coin.
It is a huge ass coin. It's like a $50. Who the fuck even has these nowadays? I don't know.
Is that tails?
It is tails. What do we do? Do we just stop it right here, dude?
I don't know.
I don't either, dude. I feel weird about stopping it. Do you just want to keep going?
I
Say
mean-
screw the coin. It's a hard
I
decision,
don't know
man.
what kind of spoiler it is, though.
I know. That's why I'm like, shit. Do we just do it? The fates be damned. Do you just want to say that? Screw fate?
I mean, what are we halfway through the video?
We're already halfway there, dude. Do you want to do it?
I guess. I don't know. It's hard.
I know, shit. All right, we're doing it.
Okay.
We're doing it.
be sure to keep the when, where, and why of how these powers were
Oh,
revealed
God.
hidden.
So is
and
everything?
simply focus on explaining the mechanics of her build rather than any of the surrounding context. But if you're trying to stay clean of absolutely any spoilers whatsoever, well, here's your obligatory spoiler warning.
I think you just said
Feel
that
free to
he's
pause, binge read all 4,000 plus pages of all 13 of the currently released light novels, and then come back to this video after when you're done.
Probably
Okay,
not gonna
we
do
good?
that, but
Perfect. Put simply, Aureole Omega is
Okay.
a commander or buffer class archetype. Her build basically revolves around giving massive buffs to allies. It's a pure support build that has
Oh, that's
very
cool.
little combat capabilities of its own. If you've watched any of my other videos, you'd know that she isn't the only commander type either. They seem to be quite diverse and spread throughout Nazarick. Like Pandora's Actor, for example, who we theorize to have the ability to buff allies in a predefined location.
Really?
I'm sure you yourself are well aware of the different types of buffs that can exist. Those of you who have played MMORPGs before have probably seen a cleric or healer tell everyone to group around him at the beginning of a dungeon so that they can cast an area of effect buff. Or maybe you've seen a tank build that specializes in auras, which grants buffs to nearby allies. Well, with Aureole Omega, the only thing that we know for certain is that she can provide some really good buffs. But I have a bit of a theory. In keeping with the whole Miko theme that she has going on, I suspect that she specializes in extremely powerful single target buff spells that take several minutes to cast but last for an extremely long time.
Well, that's
After
cool.
all, what do Mikos do? Purification rituals, ceremonial dances. The typical Miko activity is a slow, contemplative, and graceful affair that's
That's
set to
essentially
somber
all I
music
ever
and
do.
singing. Basically, we like to think that she stands in front of you and performs a very elaborate ceremonial dance that significantly buffs you after a few minutes. Sure,
That's
maybe
cool.
she has a few area of effect
Stop
buffs
twerking
too,
and shit.
but her specialty is
Just like,
definitely
I'm
a
buff.
Very
single target.
unceremonious.
So, in summary, she has a bunch of very powerful
Yeah,
buffs
shit.
that last for hours, but in exchange, they're slow to cast and limited in scope. Even with those downsides though, allow me to emphasize just how powerful these buffs are. For example, if she was to use them to buff her sisters, a group of 6
up her
characters
sisters?
spanning from levels
I bet they
46
have,
to
like,
63,
increased potency of
after the
buffs.
buff, they'd in turn be collectively strong enough to give a single level 100 character a fairly hard time, or at least keep them distracted for a little while. That may not seem like much, but that's actually pretty damn powerful. Keep in mind the exponential growth and power scaling that comes from going up a single level. I mean, just about any level 100 character can take on an infinite number of level 1 to 40 characters because they literally cannot deal damage to a level 100.
Oh, dang.
Usually, you have to be within 20 levels of a level 100 to even stand a chance against them, even when with a massive group. That's why most Nazarick NPCs intended for combat are generally level 85 or higher. After the Shaltir incident, AniNews actually instituted a policy requiring that any NPC leaving Nazarick be accompanied by a squad of at least 5 level 75 NPCs. It was in order to not only
That's
defend them
cool.
from potential threats, but to also flee and report to Nazarick in the case that they were captured, killed, or compromised in some way. AniNews was fearful of the chance that they encounter hostile level 100 players who possessed divine class equipment or rolled items. Logically speaking then, it's safe to assume that in a battle between 2 evenly matched level 100 NPCs, you'd need to be at around level 75 to even matter at all, or
He
at
always
least
thinks of,
serve
like,
as a useful
everything, dude.
distraction.
I was about to say.
As such,
His
I
policy
feel
is
it's
always be
appropriate to say
overprepared.
that the Pleiades can gain approximately 25 levels of combat power from Aureole Omega's buffs.
Damn.
Obviously, whether they won or how long they'd last would depend on the skill level, build, and stats of the level 100 character. Someone like AniNews, Touch Me, or Shaltir probably wouldn't be too inconvenienced at the end of the day if they were just up against the 6 buffed Pleiades. But a
That's
less
wild.
combat-focused build like Demiurge or Aura might be in more dire straits, and could very well lose without their minions nearby to defend them. So, how does this powerful supportive ability apply to Aureole Omega as the residential security monitor? First of all, the buffs would actually be very useful for offensive operations and attacking other guilds. When you're attacking someone, you basically get to determine when and where the attack takes place. So a buff taking a really long time to cast isn't really a major downside. But having Aureole Omega as just a designated buff bot isn't really an efficient use of her time. I mean, if that was her only job, she'd spend a really long time standing around doing absolutely nothing in between operations.
Well, that and you'd think that she
Sticking
was
her
like
in the
actually should
teleportation
be
gate
more
security hub
present.
lets her
you know?
serve a triple role in offense, defense, and peacetime. During daily activities, she's monitoring the security cameras and vetting people using the teleportation gates. Before major offensive operations, the participants would stop by the sanctuary on their way out so that she can buff them. And finally, on defense, someone can take her job of actively monitoring and controlling the gates, while various key individuals, like say level 100 NPCs, would teleport into the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary to receive their buffs. This actually
That's
could have
cool,
been the
dude.
exact case during the worker invasion of Season 3, as we saw
was so
that
funny.
Albedo took over the role of managing the security and defense network. Though, I doubt it was for the reason of sending the members of the Worst 5 to go and receive buffs from Aureole Omega. It's more likely that she's just not in charge of running security 24/7. More like during the times when there isn't an active invasion or military operation. Cause when there is, she'd need to be free in order to utilize her powers to aid the rest of Nazarick. From a fundamental standpoint, the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary would serve as a good staging ground both for launching offensive operations outside the guild, as well as coordinating the final line of defense during major invasions of Nazarick. Being behind several floors, it would take quite some time for attackers to make their way down to it, and as the center of the teleportation monitoring and redirection network, it would make for an efficient hub of transportation.
The
In the
actual
worst
size
possible
of Nazarick is
case,
freaking
where the
insane
8th
in
floor
the
looked
first
like it
place,
was
so
going
yeah.
to fall, and the Cherry Blossom Sanctuary invaded, Aureole could bless a few of the guards and use the many high-level NPCs there to cover her retreat, then evacuate to the throne room and deliver the guild weapon to AniNews, before finally returning to the door to buff her fellow Pleiades for a final stand. Now, I'm no expert, but that seems to me like a pretty well thought out emergency defense and evacuation plan. very much fitting to one of the top guilds of Yggdrasil.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for Aureole Omega's personality, appearance,
Dang.
responsibilities, and capabilities. We don't really know how exactly her buffs work, or what buffs she has precisely. We just have a general idea. Unlike Pandora's actor, there isn't a lot of detail on the exact mechanisms of her capabilities. Sure, there's a little more information that I could have shared, but we're just trying to minimize unnecessary spoilers. And unlike Albedo, Demiurge, Sebas, and whoever, we don't have a character sheet to analyze, class names to speculate on, or even stats to look at. We also don't
pretty
know
odd,
if she has
yeah.
any offensive abilities,
Freaking-
or how strong she is in a
such
fight
a
by
mystery.
herself. Presumably though, as a level 100 NPC, she can beat her sisters with just her base stats. But if her build is dedicated entirely to buffing and nothing else, she probably can't hold her own against a specialized fighter as low as level 80. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. I've actually posted a poll for the next 4 Guardian to be covered, so feel free to vote for that to choose the next Overlord video. Also,
Man.
a quick reminder that the Overlord-themed
got
merch
cool-ass
is available
shirts,
in the
dude.
description below.
Suck you, bae.
Now, before I
Yeah.
go, I'd like to thank Cacao Games once again for sponsoring this
Dude,
video.
so
You
here's
can
my
use
thing,
the
though.
link in the description.
I feel like that had a lot. Like, we had literally 2 episodes about her, and then it turns out that there's really not actually that much information on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a lot
So-
of this was him speculating.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of an odd area where I find myself being like, did we really need 2 episodes on her? And I
Yeah.
don't really know if we did or not.
I don't know.
But
I mean, she did. I guess she did like have a lot of responsibility in
Nazarick or whatever.
Nazarick, but
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
you know, outside of like holding those responsibilities, she didn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah.
It
and
was
then,
just like in case
yeah.
this happens or in case that
Mhm.
happens, that she was there
Yeah.
for something.
But then also too, like if she is the one that's supposed to be like protecting the staff and all that stuff, and like most important thing to their guild, but she's like a support ally and not really a battle focused ally.
Yeah, like a buff.
Yeah,
Buffer.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not really sure how I feel on her yet, but I would like to maybe find out some more. So if you guys do know anything else about her, or like if you guys have any suggested material for us to check out on her, maybe drop it in the comments because I would like to check it out for sure.
Yeah.
But the next ones that we've got are the worst 5, the 5 worst. So we're going to be checking out those 2 next. And then, listen, after that, everything about Albedo is coming
that's
up.
the one.
So we'll be there, okay? Episode 10 is essentially the starting of that. We've got a lot on that one. So I'm really freaking stoked to be getting there. But either way, homies, thank y'all for watching this one. Again, we're watching 2 more episodes as we sit down. So as soon as I hit stop recording, we're going to start recording the next one and then the freaking next one. So we're going for it, and we'll have a lot of content for you guys coming down the pipeline. And we'll catch y'all then. Freaking toodles!
Later.
Bye-bye.